Good morning and welcome to Minerals, Rocks, and Fossil Talks. I'm your fossil teacher, Jen. And this is Throwdown Thursday. What does that mean? Well, as folks who traverse the internet on a regular basis, we have all come across people who have somehow managed to miss every scientific advancement made in the last century, and sometimes more, and just refuse to accept that they are on the losing end of their own arguments. So how do you handle these people? Well, not the way most people on the internet do. A lot of the times we want to put all that evidence forth and be like, look, this is what's true, this is what we know. And that's a problem because this evidence is out there for people to look at. These people have seen it. They don't believe it. They're not going to believe it. So you cannot convince them you are right and they are wrong using this evidence, which is frustrating. So what do? How do you handle things like this? Well, I'm going to give you a few examples. And if you want to see the full breakdown I have of the conversation, you'll have to go to YouTube and see the full video once I've got that posted. Because holy cow, this conversation was long, but it's so worth it to look at. So I found this video on TikTok where a friend of mine he had a comment made on on a different, and this is the comment, and he made a video to answer this. You can see where this is probably going. Another friend of mine tried to answer these questions, and then somebody else picked up the slack from there, and it became this full-blown argument, and it wasn't really going anywhere. This person did everything that I just talked about, where he took all this evidence and said, look, science has proven this, and this guy absolutely refuses to believe anything that biology has put forth in the last 200 years. So it was a very frustrating conversation for those on the side of science. So how do you handle something like that? What you do is you use their own methods against them. Generally, what these people do is they like to force you to show them the evidence, but they won't accept that evidence, so all it does is make you frustrated. So we'll use this as our example. Reptiles never turn into birds. Okay? Where's your evidence? Show me your evidence. How do you know this statement is false? Make them do what they would have you do if the situation were reversed. And likely they'll come up with a lot of the same reasons that people come up with, things can't evolve into other things if they both exist at the same time because they don't understand how branching taxonomy works. And you can say exactly what they would say. That's not proof. That's opinion. You haven't proven anything. And so you just gotta keep trying to get them to give you their proof. My favorite. So at one point in the argument, he was saying that reptiles exclusively have scales while birds have scaly feet, but that's not a grounds for a relationship of species. Well, he's already kind of refuted his own argument there. Reptiles exclusively have scales, but birds have scaly feet. So if they exclusively have scales, then birds shouldn't have scaly feet. It's something else, right? Well, what about these other examples? So here I have some scales. These are not reptile scales. These are fish scales. But if reptiles exclusively have scales, does that mean that fish are reptiles? What about these scales? these scales belong to a butterfly's wings. So if a butterfly has scales, does that mean they're a reptile? Or what about this adorable little pangolin? He has scales. Does that mean he's a reptile? Clearly, it's not about the scales. Yes, it could show relationships. Obviously, with our pangolin, this is convergent evolution. With butterflies, it's convergent evolution. Fish are more primitive than our tetrapods. So, I don't know. Maybe we just have a lot of things that decided scales were cool. I don't know. You tell me what this means, good sir. But I will say my absolute favorite thing that he said was, but they're not related. They couldn't even mate. Boy, is it gonna blow his mind when he finds out about this guy. This is a mandarin duck. Beautiful duck. He is one of 2 genuses in a family with wood ducks. But guess what? Mandarin ducks cannot mate with other ducks. So does that mean it is not a duck? Because the argument he made was that you can't consider something related if they cannot breed. And other people were saying, like, you know, ostriches and parrots are birds, but they can't breed. And he goes, well, they're not close enough related. So you gotta get closer. Like our mandarin duck, who cannot breed with other ducks. And it's not the only animal out there that has this. There are plenty of animals who cannot breed with their closest relatives. That's why we call them not monophyletic. Anyway, they can only breed with their genus. So that's, you can't say that they're only related because they can mate. It doesn't necessarily always work like that. Now, that's all I'm going to give you for right now because I can only do a short video on here. So if you want more, make sure you check out YouTube. I'll go into I will use a bunch of the things that this guy said to show you how you would respond to these to usually get the conversation to stop, because there's no point in having that argument. They're never going to buy it. But maybe it'll get them thinking. You hope. Anyway, hope that you enjoyed and learned something new from this, and I will fossilize you later.